Hello everyone. My name is Renee Lemura and I am the Sage 300 Partner Sales Engineer with Sage. Today I'm going to provide an overview of the Sage 300 2019 Classic Desktop screens as well as the 2019 Sage 300 Cloud screens. To get started, I will log into Sage 300 Classic Desktop screens as the admin. Up at the top here, select Open Company. And as you can see here, within this environment today, I'm going to be logging in as an admin. Keep in mind that each user within an organization will have a user-defined ID as well as a user-defined password. Sage 300 allows the ability for multiple companies to be stored within Sage 300. And all you'd have to do is from the drop-down button, select which company you'd like to be working in, and you have the ability to navigate through the various companies within Sage 300. Today I will be showing you the navigational overview of the 2019 screens within Sage 300, and we're going to be showing you from Sample Company Inc. Select Sample Company Inc., select OK, and now you're brought into the solution. As you can see here up at the top, this is your ribbon. It's come a little bit ways in regards to, obviously there's much more color added, and Sage 300 Classic Desktop screens have become a little bit more of a modernized look and feel as you navigate throughout the solution. As you can see over here on the left-hand side, within this particular entity, Sage 300 is broken down by modules. Okay, so within the financial bundle, you have the various modules. You have accounts payable, accounts receivable, as well as your general ledger. And then you also have the operation and distribution bundle, which encompasses the following. You have your inventory control, your order entry, and your purchase orders. You also have the ability here to have project and job costing, as well as in-housing payroll. Sage 300 supports both U.S. payroll as well as Canadian payroll. And then there's also a reporting feature built within Sage 300 known as your intelligence reporting. This is an Excel-based reporting tool that allows you the following. You have the ability to view various reports, or you have the ability to manage various reports. Okay, this is a pivot table functionality here. As you open and produce the reports within Excel, drag drop feature, you have the ability to utilize tree diagrams, etc., wizards that walk you through, as well as you be getting trained on how to actually run your reports. You also have the ability to incorporate reports outside of the database into this database. So it's not that you're losing any reports, but you're actually going to be utilizing the current reports today and gaining additional reports as well. Once I click on Report Manager, you can see here all the different types of various reports that you can in fact run straight out of the box upon getting Sage 300 up and running within your organization. Sage 300 here also allows you the ability to export these reports. You have the ability to email these reports out, as well as save them to an FTP server, or save them to a shared database. Okay, so it's definitely a very user-friendly tool and mechanism, and there also is a time scheduler. So without having to think about when you actually have to run these reports, we can set that up, and the system will actually know when to run specific reports and then what to actually do with those reports. Do we want to save them to various places, or do we want to email them out to the various colleagues? As you can see here up at the top, how do we learn how to navigate through Sage 300? Well, within each module, there's various subfolders. Within those various subfolders, it takes you a deeper level into actually what you can do and how you can set everything up. Another way to navigate through Sage 300 is known as the visual process flows. This has come into play through some other versions, but in the latest and greatest version, as you can see here, there's different ways in which you have the ability to navigate through, but also to accomplish your roles and responsibilities on a given day. So let's say we're an accounts payable clerk. If we run this visual process flow right out of the box, you can see here from start to finish, we'd start with entering vendor invoices, followed by making payments, running our specific transaction reports, and then any analysis we want to run on those various reports. Any vendor records or any inquiries which we'd like to do. Okay, as you can see here, if you click on these various circles, it's actually linked to the various entry fields. As you can see here, this entry screen here, you're going to see very similar what these screens are going to look like in the Sage 300 Cloud screens. Okay, keep in mind all of the field entry screens, it's the same on both the screens. You're not losing any information or gaining any additional information. It's the exact same information, but just based on two different user interfaces. So you don't ever have to feel that you have to choose one user interface over the other. It runs simultaneously and it's bidirectional, meaning any information you enter in Sage 300 Classic Desktop screens will be pushed to Sage 300 Cloud screens and vice versa. Okay. As we move further along, let's scroll back up at the top here. If we go into AP vendors and we click on vendor here and click on a new vendor, you can see here there's a notes feature that pops up, okay? And the notes feature here, this is a very user-friendly tool, and it's also a very solid tool in regards to auditing. It creates an auditing trail, okay? So here, it builds historical information that you've set against the following. You can write notes for the following. You can write notes for vendors, you can write notes for customers, as well as for inventory items. The person entering this particular note will not have necessarily the following statuses. This is going to be an internal discretion based upon a workflow, especially for approvals. The person entering it, the status could be active, but for future or dismissed, or if they need to be reviewed, this would, based upon your workflow, would be pushed up to the higher managers or higher levels within the organization to take a look at what notes are outstanding as it relates to the various vendors, customers, or inventory items. Okay. This here populates as when you enter an invoice, when you enter in information for vendors, as well as customers and inventory items. These applicable notes feature will pop up automatically as you actually open those various screens. Another thing to note here that actually is a new enhancement with this particular version, and the version that I'm in today is 2019 Product Update 1. But within the new 2019 version of Sage 300, this global search feature is a new feature that has been built within the solution. As you can see here, this global search feature, this exists both within the classic desktop screens as well as the cloud screens. The global search feature, you have the ability to search by the following. You could type in a name, a description, a number, or a code to quickly find that given transaction or record in your database. You can search for people, companies, transactions, accounts, and many other types of records as well. Also to note, within your accounts receivable invoice entry screen, as well as the order entry item tax screen, there is an export declaration number field, okay? And this here allows you now the ability to enter export declaration numbers for individual invoice details. Okay, this information is required for tax purposes in some jurisdictions, to name a few, such as Malaysia or Singapore. Also within the tax services, under Common Services, you have the ability now to have reverse charges as well as withholding tax rate charges. And under inventory control, if we drill down and we go to, you could either go to any of the areas within here, but we're going to click on item number change. This also here is a newer feature that has been built in. Now, this here gives you a quick overview as to what Sage 300 Classic Desktop screens look like today in the current version. Now, what I'd like to do is close out of this, and bear with me 1 second as I close out of this. And we're actually going to go into now Sage 300 Cloud screens. And I'm going to give you a navigational overview as to what these cloud screens look like. And you'll be able to see the differences right at the forefront once I log in. Again, I will be logging in as an admin, but keep in mind, once again, Each person logging in will have that same username as well as a password. Once we sign in, I'm actually going to be navigating through Sample Company Inc. As you can see. This now is your dashboard. Okay, so this is your landing page within the Sage 300 Cloud screens. Now, Sage 300 Cloud screens, let's note at first, this is not a true cloud. Okay, so this here was going to be deployed on-premise, either on-premise within your organization, or it's going to be hosted through a third-party provider. It is not a true cloud product. So we also like to think of this as a connected solution. Okay, you have the ability now through integrations to connect to other various solutions that are out there today. Okay, this information is bidirectional, as I had mentioned before. So information entered in on the cloud screens, which are these screens right here, will be pushed and flowed bidirectionally into Sage 300 Classic desktop screens. Also keep in mind that Sage 300 Cloud Screens does not exist on its own, okay? So you cannot have the cloud screens without the Classic desktop screens, as the Classic desktop screens is known as your master database. So you as a user have the ability now to have both the Classic desktop screens as one user interface, as well as the cloud screens as a second user interface. And if you have various monitors, you can have one on one screen and one on the other, okay? We never want a customer to feel that they have to choose between which user interface. You have the ability to use both. Now, the one positive thing about the importance of cloud screens is the ability to access this information anytime, anywhere, on any device, okay? So as you can see here, you're logging into the cloud screens via a web browser, okay? Over here at the top, this here is your home button, which here brings you to that landing page, this dashboard. Over here at the top, this is how you're going to navigate. So a little bit different as to the other ribbon within the Classic desktop screens. This here, these are known as widgets on your landing page. Your landing page can hold up to 6 different widgets at a given time, okay? Widgets are customizable to the extent that you have the ability here to choose between the various widgets that have already been established. All you have to do is simply click, uncheck a specific widget and check a new widget, and that widget would actually populate right here. This information is live, real-time data, and the only thing that you would actually have to refresh and rerun would be reports that you're running to this way that they incorporate the latest and most recent transaction that you would actually enter in the system. As we navigate over here to the right-hand side of the screen, there's different search features, okay? So here again, when I click on that search, this is that global search feature again, being able to type a name, description, number, or code in the global search to be able to quickly find those transactions or records in your database. And again, you can search by people, companies, transactions, and accounts. Okay. Also, that export declaration number field exists on this screen as well. And another thing to note here is as we navigate down, the various tool options you have. Open Windows, the window manager, as well as recently used windows, kind of work similar. Okay, the recently used windows will hold up to 10 open windows at a time. So kind of building like a little bit of, you could use it as a workflow. That's the best way I think of it as, just to help you navigate through the various screens. And also too, it's a toggle feature. So if you don't remember the last screen that you left off on, look over here at your recently used windows, and it will let you know what are the recently used windows that you have open. Okay, the most recent ones are at the top, and then it filters down as to the older windows towards the bottom. The open windows are the current open windows that you have right now, right at the screen. The reports functionality here, this is a useful tool, but keep in mind that as future releases come, the reports functionality as well as the Sage Intelligence reporting are undergoing numerous changes and enhancements that will be coming out in future releases, okay? The inquiry tool here, this here has been redesigned to be more powerful and more versatile. It includes many new standard queries, and you can now create your own customized queries as well, okay? What you do here is click down, and you can see there's various inquiries that you can actually select on. If we click on Order Entry Sales History and click on here, you can now see all of the various sales order histories that actually have been placed within the system. You can see here right now within this particular demo image, I have 15 pages worth of invoices, and it will filter by your customer number as well, and then those corresponding details beyond that. You can in fact click on the customer name, and it will bring up that specific sales order. Again, a very useful, quick feature to, rather than filtering through various layers of information, it helps you get to that specific area in question on a much quicker basis. And then over here you have the notes functionality. Again, just like in the classic desktop screens here, you have the ability, and this screen will pop up as you enter in notes for the following: for customers, vendors, as well as inventory items. This will automatically populate, and as you can see here, there's been a bunch of notes that I've populated, whether it's for items. This here is going to be for a specific vendor, as well as this one, and then anytime you have customer detail as well. Okay, so quick glimpse, building that historical data associated with the various components within the solution. Now let's take a look at what the entry screens look like within Sage 300C, the cloud screen. So if we go to Accounts Payable, and as you can see here, now the drop-down, drill-down features are slightly different, but how this was built and designed is to think of how you navigate through the web from a personal standpoint. Okay, so how you navigate and scroll through the web, this is how kind of it was designed to help make it much more user efficient to get the job done. Now, one of the things before I even get to those entry screens is let's note some of the differences. Okay, Sage 300 Cloud Screens is a continuous work in progress. Okay, so not all of the modules here have been built to the extent as in Sage 300 Classic Desktop Screens. For example, the Sage Intelligence Reporting tool. To be able to run the full-blown reports, you would utilize that from the Classic Desktop Screens. Within the Cloud Screens, the Sage Intelligence Reporting is unfortunately limited right now to the following. You can run a balance sheet, you can run an income statement, as well as a trial balance, and those are going to be as of year to date. Anything beyond that, you'd have to run through Sage, through the Classic Desktop Screens. Another thing to note here is project and job costing. That specific module has not been built. However, in the next release, in Product Update 2 for 2019, project and job costing, the actual box to check off, has been built within the accounts receivable entry screens. Okay, so it's an added feature that is to come. And as you can see here, payroll. And payroll will not move to the cloud screens due to the level of confidentiality and confidential information built within that specific module. That module will reside within the classic desktop screens. So that's some of the differences to note right up at the forefront. But you could see your common services and your administrative services to actually get started and to set up any changes, whatever it might be. Those still exist regardless of which bundle you select. If we go to Accounts Payable and we go to AP Transactions in an Invoice Entry screen, you can see here the actual content and the actual field entries are exactly the same as in the classic desktop screens. Okay, to take it a step further, you have the ability to customize these specific screens. Customizing it simply by unchecking the various fields that you may not wish to have on those specific screens, or you could take it a step further and actually change the text within those designated entry fields to meet the verbiage within your organization. As you can further note too, you have the ability to export and import various screens. Okay. As you continue to scroll down, you also have the ability to expand out the specific fields or minimize those specific fields. You also have the ability to change the order in which these particular field entries are displayed on the screen, okay? If you feel that there's too much scrolling on a page, we would simply ask that you, and within customization, you simply unselect the various fields that you wish to not be shared on a specific screen. So you can have as much explicit detail, or you can have very minimal detail, obviously meeting the needs within your organization. But as you can see here, this is a much more modernized look and feel of Sage 300, but just gaining that accessibility now to be able to access this information anywhere, anytime, on any device. However, one important thing to note is that when you're using these Sage 300 cloud screens over an external network or the internet, your data must be protected with security measures such as the Secure Socket Layer, SSLs, or Virtual Private Network, VPN. And that's going to be something discussed with your business partner as well as internally to your organization to make sure all secure parameters are met to keep all this information safe and secure. Again, to highlight one more time, this is not a true cloud product, so your information is not stored via the cloud. It's going to be internal to your organization. So the best way to think of this is a private cloud, okay? Either existing within your organization or through a hosted third-party provider. One other thing here is the help functionality, and I didn't mention this in the classic desktop screens, but this does exist in both screens. This here really helps navigate through the various screens. It's something that I use all the time myself as I'm entering things and playing around with the system and stuff. There's a ton of support that is available to each and every user 24/7. Okay, so you also have the ability to search the various documentation within the solution, and the solution does recognize exactly where you are in the solution, so it will bring up the appropriate documentation related to where you actually are. There's also the Sage support, the knowledge base tool, any live chats, and then the various resources that you have as well. So the online community, Sage University for any additional training you may need, as well as the online community, which I had mentioned before. One other thing here is that I didn't touch upon here is also the bank services. So this is also another added feature too. I shouldn't say added feature, but it's a feature that exists, and you have the ability to actually import OFX statements or reconcile OFX statements. So this is something that's useful and actually pops up all the time when it comes to closing out month end. And you have the ability now to actually import those files in directly from the chosen bank that you work with directly. Okay, there also is the Sage Payment Solutions, which is another option as well. And that's something that's noted within the accounts receivable screens. In an invoice entry screen, you have the ability to actually process payments from a prepaid standpoint, which here is also another feature that allows you to store credit cards on file. And that's not actually stored within the solution. So again, remaining that secure parameter around that. And through the Sage Payment Solutions, that is somewhere where you're going to enter in one time the credit card information on hand through the Sage Exchange Vault. It's actually where the credit card information resides and is stored. And what populates and is stored within the Sage 300 solution is a 16 alphanumeric code applicable to that particular customer, and that's where you have the ability to prepay and process receipt of payment much quicker than waiting to actually invoice out and then receive payment upon that. So again, it's an internal discretion and also a discretion that customers will decide on if they actually want an organization to hold and store onto those credit cards. So again, this here is just a modernized look and feel of the solution. Obviously, you could see here this landing page does not exist in the classic desktop screens. The classic desktop screens have the visual process flows. The visual process flows, unfortunately, do not exist in the modernized screens, which are these cloud screens. But the best way that I kind of like to look at the workflow, you will have to utilize the drill drop-down feature within each module. But if we go into transactions and invoice entry screen, you can kind of see here the other various options that are applicable once you're in accounts payable. So you can have now, rather than a specific one-time invoice, you have the ability to actually invoice the batch list. Within batch list, you can in fact select all and post. You don't have to go through one by one and post it. So again, what we're trying to do is to enhance efficiencies to be able to complete your roles and responsibilities in a much more efficient manner. So with that, I'd like to just wrap it up, and thank you very much for walking through with me the overview of what the differences are and how the look and feel is different, both within the cloud screens as well as the classic desktop screens. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. And once again, my name is Renee Lemura. Have a wonderful day.